Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 17th, 2026 meeting of the Metuchen Borough Council. Adequate notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act pursuant to Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Said notice was published in the Home News Tribune on December 14th, 2025, posted in Borough Hall and on file in the clerk's office. All requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Please join us for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please. Ms. Zupan.
Councilmember Branch?
Here.
Councilmember Hyman?
Here.
Councilmember Jethwani?
Here.
Councilmember Kendall? Councilmember Sukan?
Here.
Council President Delia?
Here.
Mayor Bush?
Here. Do I have a motion to open the agenda session?
I make a motion to open the agenda
There's
session.
been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We're open.
Yep, Mayor, I have two changes today to the agenda. We have a resolution amending the 2026 municipal budget. That amending resolution will have to be read and voted on before the budget public hearing, please.
Okay.
And then secondly, we had originally on the agenda a CFO certification of the budget. The state has last second buzzer beater came in and approves and certified the budget for us. So
Okay.
we don't need to do that anymore. So we're going to be removing the CFO certification of the budget
Okay.
from the agenda.
Okay, excellent. Is there anything else from any other council members? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the agenda
I
session?
make a motion to close the agenda
There's been
session.
a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, before we move on with the regular part of the meeting, and I'm just going to take it a point of personal privilege here to hold a moment of silence for an incredible member of our greater community who passed away. Greg Tafaro was an incredible man who worked with Metuchen in so many different capacities. He started off as an athletic reporter, and I interacted with him in my professional capacity, in my personal professional capacity, for a number of years. An ethical, stand-up, but important work he did on behalf of the New Jersey athletic community, high school athletics in particular. Lots of research on the NJSIAA. Could be tough when he needed to be, but really important in the way that he carried news forward. And that was always something I admired about Greg. He ended up becoming our state senator, Pat Duignan's chief of staff. And we worked with him on so many of the projects. You know, I often recall for the community the important work that's done at the state legislative level for Metuchen. And, you know, that's done by the politicians, but none of us who are sitting up here as public elected officials are anything without our staff. I mean, we'll see this in the discussion of the budget tonight, and we'll see this obviously in everything we do. You can't do anything without your staff. And when you have good staff, it really elevates the work that all of us are able to do. And Greg was just that legislative aide, that chief of staff for our 18th district. And I know that the representatives who are here tonight from Assemblyman Stanley's office worked with Greg. He was an extraordinary man. He and his wife created a foundation in honor of their daughter who died while she was in early high school years. You know, his wife, Cindy, is left alone, their only child passing, and now Greg's gone. The line at Costello Runyon was to the street. It was wrapped around inside. People were online for 2.5 to 3 hours just to be able to pay their respects. This is the kind of person that changes a community for the better, and I'd ask that you all join me in a moment of silence for Greg Tafaro. Thank you. We're going to move on to proclamation. We have some people here from an important organization here in the borough. This is the group that has, for now, was this your fourth year? Are we entering your fourth year of International Overdose Awareness Day? Fifth year. Okay. The numbers are jumbled up here. But we have, an organization in CARES that has been working with us to make sure there's as much awareness as possible on some of these issues. These are some passionate volunteers that have worked hard to make sure that Metuchen and in the greater community have as much awareness as possible. And I'm going to read this if I can, and then we can join me for the formal presentation of the proclamation. Whereas 4 years ago, Metuchen joined the international community that recognizes the month of August as a time to remember those lost to overdose, acknowledge the grief of families and friends, and highlight the importance of overdose prevention and treatment. And whereas, according to the CDC, excessive alcohol use contributes to approximately 178,000 deaths each year in the United States, and whereas in 2025, there were still 69,147 overdose deaths nationally, even though that number represents a 13% decrease from last year and continues a downward trend from the peak years of 2022 and 2023. And whereas we recognize that these staggering numbers represent individual lives, mothers, fathers, sons and daughters, brothers and sisters, neighbors and dear friends, all who are lost. And whereas we commit to come together as a community to talk without judgment, openly and compassionately about substance use disorders in an effort to break the stigma surrounding overdose and addiction. And whereas we encourage individuals, organizations, and government agencies to raise awareness, promote evidence-based prevention strategies, support harm reduction initiatives, and expand access to treatment and recovery services. And whereas Metuchen now takes up the call of the 2026 International Overdose Awareness Movement, which has been fighting the overdose epidemic for a quarter of a century, 25 years and still needed. Now, therefore, I, Jonathan Bush, the mayor of Metuchen, hereby proclaims August 31st, 2026 as the 5th, should have read more carefully, Annual International Overdose Awareness Day in the Borough of Metuchen, signed today. So thank you for being here. I'm going to welcome and invite the members of CARES to join me at the front. Oh, Lisa's the liaison?
He's asleep.
Okay. Thank you for being patient, and we're going to move on now to the public comment session of our meeting. Anyone wishing to address the council, just give your name and address for the record, please. This is the public comment session of the Borough Council meeting. Anyone? Just name and address for the record, please.
See if it works this time.
Hey, Brandon, take note, please, as you're, okay, go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Kunhan Lee. I live on 85 Myrtle Avenue. I'm here today to follow up on two issues I brought up in the last council meeting. I went to the Environmental Commission meeting after the last council meeting to inquire if they had any input in regards to the paving of the Eggard parking lot. I think some emails were sent and requested to various people in borough government, and hopefully they have a chance to review the plans for the lot. I think having borough residents submit input into that lot is important, and the need and desire for transparency in this process for environmentally conscious residents in Metuchen is something they deeply care about. I think this is localism that the mayor preaches all the time. Just wanting and working towards a better outcome for where we live is important, and I would like to see more people have a voice and input into that. I'm also here to implore the council to focus more of their budget on services that the DPW provides. I wanted to revisit the conversation on bulk pickup from last month. This isn't a forum where we're allowed to respond to the borough's comments after our questions, so just had to wait a month for the reply. So last month, the borough administrator mentioned how bulk pickup is not a concierge service, and a lot of communities don't even provide it. So I took the liberty to look up how some of the surrounding communities around Metuchen handle bulk pickup. And Highland Park is limited to 2 bulk pickups a year like us, but they also have an additional pickup after their townwide garage sale that is open to all residents. Every year after our townwide garage sale in Metuchen, this is a repeated request on social media. South Plainfield is also limited to 2 bulk pickups a year, but they charge for bulk pickup after the initial 2. The third one is $50 and every subsequent one is $100. I think that's an option borough residents would embrace. I think we need to acknowledge that trash still exists even if the borough refuses to pick it up after the second time. And we're a town where municipal government is responsible for picking up trash. And the town shouldn't abandon its residents just because they picked up 2 bulk pickups in 1 year. Finally, the donut around us, Edison, I looked that up and it doesn't seem like they have any limits on their bulk pickups. And they also have a cleanup days during the fall where bulk is picked up from the curb on a rolling schedule. I don't think a majority of Metuchen regards bulk pickup as a concierge service. I think things break, and sometimes we can afford to have a white glove service to haul our old things away while they're delivered, and other times like me, you have an 8-year-old office chair with a bad cylinder sitting in your foyer while you wait to accumulate 5 items so you don't waste that one precious bulk pickup for 1 item. I also wanted to point the council's attention to the backlog of trees that need to be removed or limbed. We have seen multiple storms this summer, ending with portions of the borough being out of power. I'm sure we have all seen some monster trees and monster branches on the ground on social media this summer. It's also a common refrain from residents that the borough does not remove or trim hazardous trees at a quick enough pace. One of my neighbors on my street had a limb fall on his windshield some years back, and he had emailed DPW, and I spoke with him last week, and he said he was still waiting for them to come trim the dead branches on that tree. This spring on my son's soccer team, one of the dads was saying that his tree was determined as a hazardous tree and will be added to the list. And anecdotally from other people, that list stretches back months to over a year. I think we need to provide the DPW with more assistance in order for them to get to these hazards in a timely manner. I can't imagine what it's like to be told that there's a hazard in front of your home, to be put on a long waiting list, and to hear weekly reports over the summer about how thunderstorms and squalls are hitting the borough. I think we need to do better on this front. Please give consideration during this budget process to increase the amount that DPW receives so they can do what needs to be done to keep our borough safe.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments from the community? Just name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abby Nakfi. I'm at 219 Harvard Ave. I'm here. I am the chair of the Environmental Commission. The commission has not yet had the opportunity to review the plans for the Edgar paving project, although this is an issue that we have been raising for over 4 years. Edgar Woods is one of Metuchen's few remaining wooded natural areas, and any expansion of paved surfaces nearby raises concerns about the stormwater runoff, tree health, and long-term damage to the forest. We're already seeing widespread soil erosion in the woods from the runoff from the existing parking lot. That erosion threatens trees and native vegetation and creates conditions where invasive plants can and do thrive. Stormwater also flows into a seasonal stream and wetland within the woods. These are issues that fall directly within the Environmental Commission's role. The borough ordinance establishing the commission specifically gives us responsibility to study and make recommendations concerning open space preservation, water resources management, soil and landscape protection, and the protection of flora and fauna. These concerns also directly relate to priorities identified in the master plan, including expanding tree canopy, reducing impervious coverage, managing stormwater runoff, and building flood resilience. And I know that the master plan is a guiding document, but a great deal of work and public input went into establishing those priorities. If they're not If they are to be meaningful, they need to help guide projects like this that affect our natural areas. I appreciate learning today that stormwater has been considered in the current design and the plan is undergoing required review. Thank you for that. But before the design is finalized, I respectfully ask that the plans and relevant stormwater information be shared with the Environmental Commission so that we have an opportunity to review them and make recommendations. We are asking for the opportunity to carry out the advisory role that the commission was created to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
David Liss, 202 Delwood Road. Picking up on this idea that the master plan becomes a guideline for how the budget is used, there's a question I would like to put to you that I don't have an answer to.
It's not.
It's not.
Just to make sure that before you just want to make sure that yeah, it's not. But okay, I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to make sure that you know. I know, Mr. Liss, you would appreciate just knowing before you got onto something that wasn't based on something that's
very
not,
much appreciate
not the
that.
case. Absolutely.
What I'm thinking is that the master plan is a plan is the idea of perhaps an ideal that we'd like to strive towards, and that a budget is a policy document, and a policy document works towards a policy endpoint. And so to the extent that the master plan describes an ideal state, and to the extent that a budget is a policy document, I am associating, in my head, I'm associating the idea that there's a relationship between the projects that are described in the master plan and how we use our budget. And perhaps that's incorrect. Maybe they exist in two different universes. But a group of legislators as serious as yourself are not going to develop a product like the master plan without thinking about how you'll actually enact that happening. And so that's the association I made. But you're right, there is no direct association to that. So thank you for that correction. That plan does describe a significant amount of development. And I would say that the development that this body has planned and led in this borough has really been effective. I think that the development that has been spearheaded by this group and by administrations that came before you has improved the economy of the town, has improved the setting of the town, it's made the town more beautiful. So I think you've been successful in what you're doing. The question that I have for you is there an upper limit to the development you're thinking of? Reading the master plan, there was a great deal of development in there. There were several locations that were specifically named, and an implication that more development can happen. I don't know if that's good or bad. So far, it's been really good. One can project out and say overdevelopment, there is such a thing as overdevelopment that can happen. So I'm wondering if this body has an upper limit, an upper number of units of housing that it expects to develop. And I'd be curious to know what the rationale is behind that, if there is a number, and if there's not a number, if so far it's kind of just putting things together, it would be a really interesting public discussion. It would be an interesting discussion to see how we get to the right number. So that's my question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other members of the public before I address?
Hey everyone, Jason Grossman, 125 Hillside Avenue. I have a couple of questions about the budget. I don't know if now is the right time to ask them or if there's going to be a period after the budget hearing to talk about it.
Yeah, you can now, but we have a separate provision, session for public
Whatever you
hearing
guys
on the
prefer,
budget.
I'm happy to stand back up later.
It's up to
whatever.
you. I mean,
Okay.
this is a public, you can talk about anything you want right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll flag them now
Yeah.
and then maybe if there's more questions later.
Okay, sure.
So one thing that I wanted to ask is, given the development in town recently, increased number of parcels, increased development generally, presumably that should increase the tax revenue that the town has, and potentially, one would think that maybe taxes on existing properties don't necessarily have to go up, given the fact that there's new, residences and parcels in town. So I was curious how we think about that in terms of the budget, and in terms of the proposed tax increases for 2026. I'm also curious what plans or, I guess, what actions have been taken to evaluate cost cutting as part of the budget this year, I know that, year over year, the budget goes up. Naturally, there's inflation, there's other things that, account for that. But it would be really helpful to understand what cost-cutting actions have been taken or what cost-cutting actions have been, I guess, evaluated in order to alleviate future tax increases to residents. I have a question about the surplus. So there's a surplus account of, call it $15 million, of which the budget is using $5 million this year, leaving roughly $9 to $10 million for future years. If we're using $5 million this year and there's $10 million left at the end of this year, that's only 2 years worth of runway left of the surplus. So curious how we're thinking about the surplus and what happens when that surplus eventually runs out. Is that going to be a $5 million hole in the budget that needs to be filled by tax dollars, or is there another plan for that? Plans just generally for municipal debt. We take out debt every year. Granted, we pay down debt every year. The numbers seem controllable, but it seems like there is potentially an upcoming hole in the budget that potentially might need to be filled by debt. So I'm curious how you guys are thinking about that. The largest increases in the budget are in categories called other, with no real information about what other means. So would be curious what line items are factoring into that other line item, as it is the biggest increase and one of the biggest factors is the budget going up. And then my last question is, I was looking at the 2024 financial statements because the 2025 financial statements haven't been published on the Borough website yet, and there's a $40 million pension liability that's completely unfunded that the town has to service over the next X number of years. Curious how you guys are thinking about that in relation to future budgets. $40 million is obviously quite a large number. It seems like on an annual basis, we're funding $2-ish million to that. So I don't know if that $40 million is to be serviced over 20 years and $2 million a year is kind of like a consistent number we can think about, or if the borough is going to be smacked with like a $5 million number one year and all of a sudden taxes are going to have to go up as a result of not planning for that. Maybe we are planning for it. I don't know the answer, but these are the questions that I would hope get addressed tonight before the budget's approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cressman. Did you give your name and address, by the way? Did you give your name and address? Okay, sorry, I was writing something down. Any other members of the public looking to address the council before I close public comment? Okay. We have some experts here, so I'm going to make sure I don't speak on behalf of experts on in response to some of the questions. Some of these questions dovetail one another, so forgive me if I'm not squarely addressing the one particular question. I'm going to try as much as possible as taking notes here to address as much as I possibly can. With respect to the issue of the question of overdevelopment, what is the question? What is overdevelopment, and what's the outer limit of development in this town? I think that's fair to say that with respect to that or any other issues, including the parking lot at Edgar, we rely on our experts. We have professional engineers, we have professional architects, we have stormwater experts that we deal with through the engineering office. We have concerns, obviously, over any impact that a new development, any new structure, period, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, industrial, whatever it is, we have experts that we have to consult. And, it's something important to note. We're lucky to live in New Jersey. In a lot of ways, we make fun of New Jersey and we tease New Jersey and everything else, but we're incredibly lucky from an environmental standpoint that we live here because we have some of the most stringent environmental regulation in the United States and therefore in the world, compared to most of the world. And so we're lucky in that way because as frustrating as it can be and as bureaucratic as it can be and as slow and tedious as some of these projects can be, that's a direct result of the regulatory processes designed to protect places like our community and nearby, streams and forest areas and whatever else it is from overdevelopment. And so, I just say it's important for everyone to know. I think you all do, but just that we really do heavily rely on our experts, and that's one of the line items, for example, that we have to pay. But oftentimes we end up charging the people doing the work for that. We make them put money into escrow so that the borough taxpayers don't actually have to bear that burden, but we make sure that they are consulted, and that's why that money is put into escrow. We're always concerned about the possibility of overdevelopment. But one of the reasons that we have designated in the master plan that the possibility exists that some of this private property could eventually be developed into something is because we do have state requirements that require the borough, like every town in New Jersey, to meet a certain number of affordable housing units. And so, as part of our mandate that the state requires of us, and we do a lot better with this than some of our neighbors, no names, but we work really hard to make sure that we are fulfilling our responsibilities in terms of a commitment to the possibility of affordable housing. Again, not overdevelopment, but responsibly fulfilling those requirements and doing so. This is never going to be a sprint to quickly develop. Nobody wants to do that. And in fact, there is in some circles, I appreciate, Mr. Liss, your acknowledgement that the people who've come before us, and we have really tried to be careful stewards of the future development of this town. It's one of the hardest aspects, balancing that and figuring out what the right project is and why. But we're really trying to be very careful with that. There was the question that was raised about development. In theory, you have some sort of development that would contribute to the tax base. And that's not just a theory, that's true, whether it's the building that was constructed with a pilot or whether it's anything else in town that contributes to the overall amount of property taxes that we receive, just a third of, because about 2/3 of it goes to the school board, as I think most of you know. But, without that development, you have to think of it as this, the taxes would have to go up more. It's almost like it's a stabilization effect. And there could, in theory, at some point, be a project that would help stabilize even more. But the reality is that the amount we're able to, the importance of maintaining services and balancing that with a tax increase that's reasonable for our residents, combining with balancing that with, how much we're actually getting this year compared to last year. And we have a CFO here, and I hate to put her in the spot. She's sitting in the front row, and I am going to put her on the spot at some point because, again, relying on our experts is very important. We very carefully take out that pencil and try to figure out what can continue, what's something we have to be careful about, where's a rising cost that might be mitigated. We try things like shared services. We're engaged with, for a town of our size, we do a fair amount of shared services with some of our neighboring communities because, that's the future. At some point, if New Jersey isn't more helpful to us with respect to state aid, and unfortunately the numbers are going in the opposite direction, it seems, we're going to have to find even more creative ways to maintain services. And we try to do that and balance that together, but it's really hard. You've asked about consideration of cuts, future debt, the concept of pension liability. These are not things that, if they're there, then you see them. We know all about this. I'm going to, if I can, Becky, on the question of some of the way we consider cuts, the issue of future debt. I mean, these are the discussions that we have. Sometimes I ask you to repeat 2 or 3 times to really understand some of the finance pieces, but we talk about these in our finance committee meetings with Council President Delia and Council Member Jethwani to figure out what are some of those considerations, if you could just share it with the council and the public, obviously, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We are obviously very aware of these major categories. The first item to speak of, the question of the debt, what we do is we watch and we work with our financial advisor. We work with our attorney that advises us on debt, and we balance short-term debt and long-term debt. So we are fast approaching in the next year or two where we will roll short-term debt to become long-term debt as some of our other debt is falling off the tables because it has been satisfied. So it is a constant, careful process where we are aware we have statutory limits on how much debt we can have. And that's always on our radar. So I appreciate the concern. It is always on our minds, and it is discussed at every Finance Committee meeting. The other item was on surplus. This year is very significant and very different from other years. We are using more.
I just want to make sure, can the people in the back hear? Are you able to hear okay? Okay, it's just, I just want to make sure that the
Yeah, it's
acoustics are, okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Cuthbert.
So the surplus we're using this year is larger than most other years. We are more in tune with a 3-ish number in the last trending few years. We also usually have a total regeneration of surplus. It is close or at par. So I certainly hear the concern. There was extreme and, very serious conversations for what was put in the budget this year with everybody on the Finance Committee and with communication with council, knowing it's not $5 million a year that we're going to use. It's a one-of year. So acknowledging the concern, we are very aware and know the long-term that we can't run out of surplus. That's not a place we would ever be. Let's see, the other topic, if you could refresh.
The pension topic, yes.
Right.
Those are the $40 million reference to pension
In the audit.
liability.
We are required to report according to, I believe, GASB standards. We acknowledge and pay our annual pension payments every year. Those numbers are derived by the State Division of Pensions. It is based on a formula that I can't explain because it's the state of New Jersey, but it is statutory. It is trending so that you are covering your current wages because the borough has a contribution piece that we pay in the range. I'll look in the audit, it's probably in there, but it's in the 20% that we pay, maybe 14 for PERS 20. Don't quote me on those, I can get those published numbers, but we follow the regulations, we fully fund our share of our pension, and I do not see this as a looming surprise. The state is very, very, very conservative, and they are very strong to make us obviously know what our obligations are.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's it on the finance issue. Is there anything, Ms. Pearlstein, that you want to add on that?
I just say that we look at things very cautiously every year, and Becky will quote, I don't want to give it away now, but in the budget documentation, any costs that go up aren't increases. We hold our departments to a very rigid standard when they come asking for things. If we do anything related to O&E or capital, and that's not nearly as significant, we really ask them to hold their lines every year. We're not looking to increase. We have statutory requirements due to collective bargaining agreements that are part of our increases every year that have been negotiated with our two unions. When I say we look at things very carefully, we most certainly do. We are not looking to increase anything, and certainly we always have the taxpayers in mind. The idea is that all of our expenses go up, like even in your own household. Electric goes up, gas, water, salaries because of the collective bargaining agreements. So we have to, in order to provide the services that are expected and desired, this is a natural progression. Anyone who says they can hold down your taxes, you will pay for it in subsequent years because everything increases. There's no way around that. But I can tell you that especially with the Finance Committee, we work incredibly diligently to make sure we're doing right by the taxpayers.
And I'll just also add that and Mr. Liss, I appreciate the comment about the master plan, but the master plan is a document for the plan. It's really the guiding document, guidance for the planning board. And so that's why it's not directly linked. It does reflect the priorities at this time for the future as a vision plan. And so in that regard, I understand what you were saying originally, but it's not, it's more attenuated than that. And then the last thing, just with respect to the comment earlier about bulk pickup, we've gone through this a lot. It's after the, maybe we need to do a better job publicizing it, but after the flea market?
No.
Garage sale,
Garage.
excuse me.
Garage sale.
After the
not
after the garage sale, we do pick up at the curb with all the leftover stuff, because all over town, it ends up with people have their leftover stuff and they put it at the curb. So maybe we need to do a better job publicizing it, but DPW always does that here in Metuchen. Okay, thank you very much, and we're going to get to the budget process soon, so if any of you want to have a specific comment with respect to the hearing, that's on you. Yeah, go ahead, you want to, sorry, one more thing about the,
Yeah,
to address
just
the
one more
trees.
thing about the trees. So this community, as everyone knows, has an incredible amount of mature trees in the community. It has been my efforts since I got here to start addressing it, but it's something that takes time. Our DPW is limited in terms of what they can do because there are constraints. Anytime you see a tree limb in a power line, we cannot touch it. We have to wait for PSC&G to come out and take care of it. They have a priority. We work diligently to make sure that happens. About 3 years ago, we got a state grant to take care of trees. It was $100,000. Everyone was it 100,000, Becky? I think, maybe two. And everyone was absolutely surprised, my colleagues throughout the other municipalities, is how the heck we got that. The problem with tree maintenance, it's incredibly expensive. And we have to rely on PSC&G to address anything in the lines. We work diligently to try, but there are something called acts of God. And if you want a tree canopy and a mature tree canopy in the community, these are sometimes the consequences of that. We are trying our best to address it. I was actually reached out and had met some dialogue with Becky about how we could potentially capitalize, because when you capitalize, it doesn't affect your general budget the way it does. Right now, we can't capitalize tree maintenance. So that means that we have to put a little aside every year in the DPW department to attack it. And we are at an appropriations cap in our general budget. So for as much as I would love to put a ton of money towards this and get it done, right now it's impossible. Now, Senator Pat Dignan introduced a bill several years ago that was going to allow communities to capitalize the tree issue, because it's not just us who has this tree problem, okay? And especially during storms and during volatile weather, which we see a lot more of nowadays. He had asked the state legislature to consider that along with Senator Greenberg. Unfortunately, it never passed and never got through for whatever reasons that was, because that would significantly help us in addressing this, because then we could hire people to come in and help us. I only have 32 DPW staff, and we have 2 trucks. So, we're always trying to balance all the interests, balancing what kind of services people want versus what's reasonable in terms of how much it's going to cost the taxpayer. And it's a constant balancing act. But when it comes to the trees, we are very aware of it. We're trying our best, but it's just an impossible endeavor because we have so many of them.
Okay. Thank you. All right, at this time, we're going to move on to council meeting minutes.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve Borough Council meeting minutes of June 22nd, 2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I make a motion to approve communications agenda items A through D.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Municipal budget time.
Yes. I make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-213 to read the budget by title only at the public hearing, and Resolution 2026-214 certifying compliance with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission's enforcement guidance on the consideration of arrest and conviction records and employment decisions under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Yes. Just a clarification, this was the resolution, sorry,
This
dash 2013. Can you just clarify? Sorry. Council President. that is-
this is reading the budget by title at the public hearing.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there.
Okay.
We're getting there.
Okay,
So
got it.
this is the beginning of the process of
Got
the
it.
adoption of the budget. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
That's fair clarity.
Okay.
So, okay.
And then we have another one that's not quite yet there
Yep.
either. So, Ms. Zupan, could you please read the resolution amending the budget in full?
My apologies in advance to everyone. It's very long and boring.
Should we give an explanation now or at the end?
You can give an explanation now if you'd like.
Let's give it now because you're going to sit there saying, why is she reading this whole thing? Yeah.
Becky, would you just give?
The budget amendment was a result of the state review. We are in our third-year cycle. Every 3 years, municipalities just go through a standard state review of their introduced budget. So as a result, we've been requested to do an amendment. I believe the dollar amount is $772 and change. It's a small amount, but it's a procedural importance. So Ms. Zupan will be reading those lines and texts. It's a whole lot of reading for a small amount of money, but
But it's
a
required by the
procedure,
state.
a
It's required by the
procedure.
state, and
It's
we obviously
procedural.
intend to comply. Thank you very much. Okay, so everyone, hold on to your hat and enjoy the government process you're about to observe.
Okay, whereas the local municipal budget for the year 2026 was introduced on the 8th day of June 2026, and whereas the public hearing on said budget is to be held as advertised, and whereas it is desired to further amend said approved budget, now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Borough of Metuchen, County of Middlesex, that the following amendments to the approved 2026 budget be made. Okay. Okay, the first section is municipal revenues, municipal court, from $260,000 to $262,050. Parking meters from $165,000 to $162,950. Total Section A miscellaneous revenues, $148,500, no change.
You mean 1 million?
I'm sorry, $1,485,000, and there's no change to that total. Thank you. Miscellaneous revenues, Section F, special items of general revenue anticipated with prior written consent, Director of Local Government Services, Public and Private Revenues, offset with appropriations. Federal bulletproof vest from $0 to $1,016.76. Total Section F is blank. Total Section F, sorry, with written prior consent of local government services, public and private revenues offset with appropriations from $1,545,000, $545,530.19 to $1,546,546.95. Summary of revenues. So miscellaneous revenues, total Section A local revenues, $1,485,000, no change. Total Section F, special items of general revenue anticipated. Okay, with prior written consent, Director of Local Government Services, Public and Private Revenues offset with appropriations from $1,545,530.19 to $546,546.95. So total miscellaneous revenues are from $5,591,754.57 to $5,592,771.33. Subtotal of general revenues, items 1, 2, 3, and 4, from $11,476,754.57 to $11,477,771.33. Amount to be raised by taxes for support of municipal budget. Local tax for municipal purposes, including reserve for uncollected taxes. Total amount to be raised by taxes for support of municipal budget from $423,532.13 to $18,423,292.19. So total general revenues from $31,138,925.70 to $31,139,702.52. Now we're under, okay, general appropriations. All appropriation within caps, public buildings and grounds, salaries and wages, other expenses, total operations, item 8A within caps. So the other expenses are $205,000, changed to $204,000, $204,764.86. Should have written these all out. Total operations, item 8A within caps, $16,665,174.38 to $16,664,939.24. Total operations, including contingent within caps, $16,665,174.38 to $16,664,939.24. Detail other expenses, including contingent, from $6,884,040 to $6,883,804.86. Okay. Total general appropriations for municipal purposes within caps from $19,178,536.38 to $19,178,301.24. Operations excluded from caps, public and private programs offset by revenues, federal bulletproof vest, from $0 to $1,016.76. Total public and private programs offset by revenues from $1,570,530.19 to $1,571,546.95. Total operations excluded from caps from $5,021,447.98 to $5,022,464.74. Last page. Okay, other expenses, $4,876,447.98 to $4,877,464.74. Emergency authorizations, 1 year emergency group health insurance. Emergency authorizations went from $0 to $680,000. 1 year emergency group health insurance went from $680,000 to $0. Total deferred charges, most municipal excluded from caps, $725,000, no change. H2, total general appropriations for municipal purposes excluded from caps, $10,310,127.12, changed to $10,310,908.74. Okay. Total general appropriations excluded from caps are exactly the same figures as I just read. Subtotal general appropriations, items H1 and 0, $29,488,428.36 to $29,489,209.98. Okay. Reserve for uncollected taxes from $1,650,497.34 to $1,650,492.54. Total general appropriations, $31,138,925.70 to $31,139,702.52. Be it further resolved that 2 certified copies of this resolution be filed forthwith in the Office of the Director of Local Government Services for her certification of the local municipal budget so amended. The end.
Is there a quiz?
All right, just one more time, okay?
I was expecting applause or something, you know.
You did. Excellent.
We don't normally have to do that, but the 3-year review process, and there was a new staff member that we're working with who asked for it at the state, and she had every right to do it, but it required us to read this the way we did, so we're doing it.
And Mayor, may I just to very quickly summarize, the change we're talking about, as Becky noted, in totality is $776.
Some of
Okay.
the line items went up, and some of them went down. There was a pencil, and that's where we
Yeah.
got to. So
Got
that's
it.
where we are, okay?
Okay.
All right.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2026-214A.
A second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second on the reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, now we're into the public hearing portion.
Ms. Zupan, I hate to do
Before
this to you, but would you please read the budget by title only?
This one will be easy. 2026 budget, municipal budget for the Borough of Metuchen, County of Middlesex for the calendar year 2026.
Okay,
As amended. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, council. All right, so the title's been read. I'm going to open up the public hearing, but before I do that, there was one other issue that was raised, and since it relates to the budget, I think it's important to say it again. There was the question raised about the 27% other, and what that means in the budget. So before the hearing, only because I know something that somebody had asked about with respect to the budget before the hearing, is Becky, if you could just address that, and then we'll turn to the public for any questions you might have on the budget. What is other in the budget is the question.
So the other category, we did explain some of those items when we had the actual introduction, but to recap, it's library, it's the, all the items that are considered like out of cap. So it would be the library, it would be the sewage utility treatment. I believe that we have healthcare's pensions covered. I mean, those alone
Is the parking
are,
authority in there as well?
Is it
Is the
park-
parking authority in there as well under other?
not as a disbursement.
Okay.
Yeah. Those two items alone are $3 million. So those are really big ticket items. I don't think I have the detail other than that, but those two being the largest, it's things that are outside of the exact administration, the office staff. It's outside of the specific healthcare line, outside of the pension line. So it could be that the FICA share is in there, could be the unemployment is in there. Those items that are not in those other broad categories, our budget has 50, 60 line items. So anything other than those broad categories falls in there. I highlighted the largest ones because those are the most significant that is in that other.
Thank you very much. Sorry, thank you very much. And obviously, if there are other questions, you're not limited to any inquiries with respect to the budget now, but you certainly are welcome to come now for the public hearing. But if there's something else that comes up throughout the year, any other time, we have staff that, when they get to it, can certainly answer questions. That's what we've always been about here in Metuchen. So anyone looking to address the borough on the budget, step up to the microphone, just give your name and address, please.
David List, 202 Delwood Road. I didn't catch the whole thing. Would Ms. Zupan please repeat?
Cute.
The simple question is, I don't know what cap or non-cap means. I'm wondering if somebody could explain that.
Yeah, thank God you stayed tonight, Ms. Cuthbert. Go ahead.
So in the budget, within cap is what you use for your operations. It's your everyday expenses. It's the shared services. It's the running of the public works, the police department, managing the fire department, et cetera. And so inside of cap by statute, there's a 1978 law that you have to follow. When we say we are against the appropriation cap, it means that we have a mathematical ceiling that we can raise our operating appropriations to. We are at that ceiling. So that reinforces the position that, the borough administrator had spoken to. We would if we could, put a lot more money in, for example, a particular year for tree trimming or for, additional garbage services, or what other thing that we have to be very conservative. And in all honesty, the budget that we put together this year, most departments were asked, please, carefully, you may not really get more than you had last year. And some departments had to take a lesser amount. It's a balancing act. So it is a very tight budget year, but it is in part because that's responsible, and also because we are against the appropriation cap. Outside of cap are things like the grant, it's debt service, it's your required down payment for your capital improvement items. It is the library, it's because library is statutory, we must give 1/3 of a mil of the equalized valuation of property. So that number is set. It goes, so it doesn't impact that percentage that is considered inside cap. The sewer utility charges, those are outside of cap. So pension is inside of cap. We have no choice. It is what it is. Healthcare is inside of cap. We have no choice. We have statutory increases for salaries. That's inside cap. So in general, that's the biggest items. The last item is the reserve for uncollected tax. That is a mandatory statutory item you must put in. We must budget for a full collection of taxes from our taxpayers, even those that don't pay and that are delinquent. We're obligated to pay the county and school their full value. So that's another line item. That happily is outside of cap, but it's driven by formula.
Okay, thank you very much. Other members of the community looking to address us on the budget? Name and address again for the record, please.
Sure. Jason Grossman, 125.
That time I
Hillside
heard
Avenue.
it.
Thank you for all the answers. It's definitely super helpful. None of them were accusatory, more so just trying to
No,
figure
no,
out
of
how it all
course.
works.
Yeah.
And I do want to correct myself. My earlier question about the pension was actually, you're right, it's definitely funded. It was more about the OPEB liability of 40 million, which is unfunded. So a little bit of clarity on that would be helpful. And then one question that wasn't answered, and it doesn't need to be like specific, but I am trying to understand. The budget is consistently being said, kept, very tight, small increases. We have new development in town that's happened over the past few years, which is contributing to the tax base going up, but yet taxes are going up again for homeowners. So trying to understand how the development in town and a tight budget and not increasing things significantly year over year is still yielding a $690 average tax increase across, the town. It's just, maybe I'm just missing something, and maybe that's the case, and that's totally fine. I'm just trying to understand the bridge of all those things together.
I get that. And before, thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Grossman. Just before Ms. Cuthbert answers the question, I did try to answer that question before. Perhaps it wasn't clear. What I was saying was that the development that we've had in town, some of which has been actually helpful to the tax base, is the reason that the taxes haven't gone up more. So I know that that's hard to understand, and there could, I guess, again, be a scenario where there would be some sort of development that would change those numbers in a seemingly more overtly beneficial way, but it's been beneficial. It is incorporated into the amount, and at the end of the day, the amount is the amount, both in terms of what comes in and what has to go out, because they're raising expenses and everything else. So, for some people, there's been concern over development, any development in town. We've heard that. I mean, I'm the mayor. I talk to people. I hear all kinds of things. But I think people don't realize that if we weren't, if some of these changes didn't happen, our taxes would be even higher in Metuchen as a result. So it's an interesting question. And, you get more in the pot, but you also have a higher expense as well associated with any number of other issues, salaries, collective bargaining agreements, rising costs of everything that just everyone in the world is dealing with right now. So thank you. And then Ms. Cuthbert, if you want to address the other question that was asked before that one.
Regarding the pension reporting, I believe some of the genesis of how those notes, it's in the notes section of the audit. Because New Jersey has multiple kinds of pensions. There's municipal, there's state, there's judicial, there's the sector that covers teachers. So the municipal side has always been by municipal share funded, but it's an actuarial determination that is influenced by the larger picture of all of it. I will, if you, that resident, I will make a contact with you and I can link you to the Division of Pensions so that, and also any other information on the notes, because I don't want to say that I know all parts of it, but I know the municipal part is fully funded. There's a lever where the state needs to appropriate pieces, and in some prior years, the state had not fully funded those. So I believe these are all levers in how that number is reported. I don't know that that lands, just because it's the municipal part, if that responsibility lands only on the municipality. So I want to have that clarification, and I can send it to that resident.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any other comments from the community on the municipal budget? No? Okay. I'm going to close public hearing on the 2026 municipal budget. Council President?
Yeah. I make a motion to adopt the 2026 municipal budget for the Borough of Metuchen on second reading and published according to law.
As amended.
As amended. I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That is 2026-214, is that right? 214A?
No, it's the budget.
It's the budget.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. 214 as amended. Okay.
I think we have some questions from the council.
Oh, okay. So we have, well, hold on, let's get a second. Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Okay, so now we have a motion and a second. And let's see questions from the council.
Yeah, just, thank you.
Or comments.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just, so as has been said, we've spent quite a bit of time on this budget, so I wanted to just, again, highlight two things. I want to refer to the presentation that was shared when the budget was introduced and the pie chart that was shown. And again, I want to go back to, I think I made this reference before, but the pie chart in the referencing the tax bill showed us the following breakdown, that 61 cents of every tax dollar paid goes to the schools as dictated by the budget approved by the school board. 15 cents of a dollar goes to the county, about 2 cents goes to the library. The remaining 22 cents of every tax dollar paid goes towards borough services, as we've heard described. So these services include the police, public safety, public works, road paving, garbage collection, sewer costs. And I know firsthand that in many towns, residents actually get charged extra and separately for garbage and sewer, whereas in Metuchen, these services are included in our local taxes. And I think, as was mentioned, the borough collects the entire tax bill for every resident, right? The 100% of the tax bill is collected by the borough. And so based on that division, the borough sends back almost 80% back out of what is collected, going to the schools, the county, the library. So the portion of the tax bill, the share that this council is voting on, is about 22% of the entire tax bill. And just one additional clarification, and Becky kind of noted this, but I just wanted to reiterate, because I think it's an important point, is that, so even if some taxpayers don't make their payments on time within the budget year, the borough is still responsible to collect and then pay out 100%, is responsible to collect 100% of property taxes and be paying out what is required to the schools, to the library, to the county. So that is where the borough, into its 22%, builds in the reserve for uncollected taxes, which was referenced by Becky. So we are responsible for that regardless of who is able to pay their taxes on time or not. And that's part of that 22%. So I just thought it was a point worth reiterating. And I just want to thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the time to talk about this and maybe help clarify and explain some aspects of it, and appreciate the time that the administration has taken to address a lot of my questions and comments along the way. So thank you.
Yeah, and I want to thank Councilmember Tithwani, because, we all bring different things to this, and we're all come from different backgrounds and professions and personal experiences and whatever else, which is what makes up your borough council as currently, as anytime any group is situated. But when Councilmember Tithwani joined our council, we had somebody who previously served on the Finance Committee for Middlesex College. And it was really helpful to have that know-how and experience join us, and some of your critical perspective has been really useful to us and helped our administration to sort of present information in different ways, and that's what it takes. I mean, that's the I was referencing before about how we work with our staff. That's an important part of how government works. So thank you for that. I really
Thank you, Mayor.
have appreciated this process. We really we've relied on you heavily. So other council members.
Yes, I do. And I'd like to just second what you just said about Councilwoman Jethwani, because she has also spent a tremendous amount of time on the phone with many of us as we have approached this budget, so that we can all ask our questions and make sure that we are prepared. And Metuchen is lucky to have you. My question is, based on the introduced budget, the local tax rate increase from last year's 3.26%. I was hoping that you just might be able to explain, just for anybody listening, what the main driving items are that lead to that budget increase, just to help people understand.
So in addition to the percentage that you gave, I think it's important to look at the year-to-year ratio. We are almost on point with the same increase spread from 23 to 4 and then 4 to 5, or the other way, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. In the prior year budget, the municipal share went up $150 on a $300,000 assessed value home. In this year's budget, that's an additional $9. So it is very frugal budgeting. The large pieces that we do know, pension went up, healthcare went up, salaries went up, the sewage utility definitely went up, the library went up. I mean, it's the operating. We held our utilities and gasoline close, but it went up more. So for that smaller amount of increase, the extra $9, it encompasses everything else. I know that we are under the inflationary rate by far. So respectfully, that is a good point to bring up, but it's also in comparison with other years as well.
Great, thank you, that's helpful. Anybody else? Council President?
Yes, real quickly, you can stay standing up, Becky. I
know, Becky's got,
I just wanted to
you got steps every time you sit up from a chair?
I just really wanted to thank you, Ms. Cuthbert and Ms. Pearlstein, for all the work you always do every single year for us. As the mayor was mentioning earlier, we rely on professionals, and of course, this is your role with the borough, but it's always nice to get a thank you for doing a great job. So thank you so much, as well as my finance committee, fellow people on the finance committee, the mayor, Councilmember Jethwani, our former councilman Dan Hirsch. A lot of work goes into this every single year, and it's a lot, certainly for some of us that maybe are not necessarily have the acumen for budgets, but it's a lot, and you make it easier for us because you're able to be there and explain it to us and walk us through it and explain it in terms that it's easy to understand and see. So the one thing I did want to mention was going back to the surplus. So because it was mentioned earlier in the meeting, so we do, and you responded to this, so I'm just sort of reiterating, we regenerate our surplus as much as we can year to year. Typically, certainly in the last few years since I've been on here, we are able to regenerate all of the surplus that we've been using. The one year that comes to mind is the COVID year, where I believe we were not, obviously we had to take more of that year than we needed to. And this year is also a special year where we are taking the $5 million, but it's not going to be at the end of the year 10. We're not expecting it to be 10. We don't know what it will be until the next year, until we actually get the figures in. But we're expecting to continue on our normal pace to 2.2, something like that, million to get regenerated. So the question I have, and it's a leading one because I asked this question in our finance committee meeting because it was really important that we all felt comfortable with that number when we decided it. Do you feel comfortable with the surplus, even if it were to go to that hypothetical 10, with the size of our town, with the size of our budget? Is that a healthy surplus for a town like us to have?
As you said, we have had discussions about this. Yes, we are in a healthy position. Being a very conservative finance person, I always want more because I want the safety and I want to know that legacy projects or special things that would never come again, we have that comfort level. I would not be able to make that answer of my comfort had we not had a good history of regenerating surplus. That would be a different conversation. So knowing that this is a special year and not an every year, I think we're fine.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, that was an important question, Council President. Anybody else? No? All right. Thanks to the council members. Thanks to our administration. Thanks to the community for asking the good questions. It's important for us to be able to process this and to understand what people are thinking about. This is the best place to do it, council meetings at the microphone. We appreciate that. Okay. Council President?
So we had a
Get a motion in a second. So we're going to do a roll call on that, right? Because it's adoption of the actual budget. Okay. Ms. Zupan, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Branch.
Yes.
Councilmember Hyman.
Yes.
Councilmember Jethwani.
Yes.
Councilmember Sukhan.
Yes.
Council President Delia.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Zupan, would you please read ordinance 2026-13 by title only?
Ordinance 2026-13, bond ordinance appropriating $1,622,990 and authorizing $1,541,000 bonds or notes of the Borough for the expansion and renovation of the Metuchen Public Library.
Okay, we're going to open the public hearing. This is for 2026-13, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, sorry, there's been a lot on just making sure I got the numbers right. Okay, public hearing on that ordinance for anyone with respect to the $1,541,000 of bonds for the expansion of the, innovation and renovation, I should say, of the public library? This is just an introduction. Oh, this is- wait.
Oh, no, this is the,
Yeah, this is the public hearing.
This is a public hearing, yes, go ahead, I'm sorry, Mr. List. I got a lot of
lot
of chiefs here.
David List, 202 Delwood Road. I just want to say that that is really exciting. It's really exciting that we are putting this together. The library is the center of the community. Wonderful things happen there. We recently went to visit the renovated library in North Edison, and it was fine. It was fine. What I didn't see there was this huge community presence that is just intellectually engaged and socially engaged that I see every time I go to our library. The fact that we are expanding our library and putting this kind of investment in is so significant for the community. And I can't wait to, it's like when we had the kitchen done, it's like, I can't wait till it's done. There was agony waiting for it, but I can't wait till it's done. I can't wait till it's done and to go into that expanded library. And because we've been impressed by the children's room, we've been impressed by everything that's happened there. Rebecca's doing a great job, and it's going to be really exciting to go. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. Just address again, it's David Liss, I know, and we've known each other for years, but just address for the record if we can.
202 Delwood Road.
Thank you very much. I want to also repeat what Mr. Liss is saying. This is, the amount of bonds here is 1.541 in borough expense, but that's a matching amount based on the continued advocacy of our borough in coordination with the library. And I know Vanita Jethwani, our council member, is going to get double praise tonight for her hard work. This was leftover money. So you've got this library fund that the state has, and they allocate, and we missed out the first time. But after lots of pushing and respectful pushing at the state level, we were able to get them to agree. Look, the tough part of this is you got to commit a bond on your own, but you're getting the same amount from the state, which would go somewhere else. I know people sometimes say, well, that's my tax dollars. Yeah, it's tax dollars that would end up in another town. So let's bring it here. And let's renovate this library, which people clearly appreciate, like Mr. Liss and others. And we've got this incredible friends group of the library. I know Ms. Shackney is here. She's done some volunteerism with the library. And I know we have got a great library commission and a wonderful new director, not so new anymore.
Not so new.
2 years, 3 years. I mean, we've got a great committee. This is a town that appreciates its library. And if you don't, and you're watching this, just do yourself a favor on one day, if you're home from work or it's a weekend and the library's open, go in there and ask the question based on what you deal with, what you do, how the library can benefit you. And you will be surprised at how much the library does besides, letting you borrow books. It's a really extraordinary place. One time I went on vacation and I was told that I could borrow a hotspot. And they have everything. Tickets for shows, movies, streaming on your television. It's really an incredible space, and it is a public space, and it's intended for everyone's use and a benefit for people who need to gather and understand and learn and do whatever they have to do with their daily lives. So I just really encourage you to use our library because we're really proud of it, and this is going to be an incredible investment in their future. So kudos to all that. So anybody else looking to comment on this ordinance? Okay. We're going to close the public hearing on 2026-13. Council President?
I make a motion that ordinance 2026-13 be passed on second reading and published according to law.
All right. Second?
Second.
Roll call. Ms. Zupan?
Councilmember Branch?
Yes.
Councilmember Hyman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jethwani?
Yes.
Councilmember Sukhan?
Yes.
Council President Delia?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ms. Zupan, would you please read ordinance 2026-14 by title only?
Ordinance 2026-14, ordinance to set the minimum and maximum wage ranges for certain borough employees, amending ordinance 2026-10.
Thank you. I make a motion that ordinance 2026-14 be passed on first reading, published according to law, and a public hearing set down for Monday, September 14th, 2026.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Branch?
Yes.
Councilmember Hyman?
Yes.
Councilmember Jethwani?
Yes.
Councilmember Sukhan?
Yes.
Council President Delia?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Report of the Borough Administrator. You got anything?
Introduction. We
did while you were chatting.
Sorry. Okay, yeah, an important update in terms of the Grove Avenue Bridge project. We had a meeting today with the Board of Ed. The state called the meeting, who is the entity that is in charge of replacing a bridge that was wooden underneath that dates back to the 1800s. So with that in mind, it was a necessity to have this happen. They had high hopes of finishing it before the start of school. That is not going to be the case. We had a very productive meeting, the chief's in the back, with both the chief and his traffic bureau, and also the Board of Education, Dr. Caputo and his team. The chief has been working on a contingency plan, and we do anticipate, because of the weather in particular, it's been so wet, that the project will be delayed a month. So we're looking at October 1st. I know it's a huge inconvenience, but Mother Nature did not cooperate, and no one has a direct line to control the weather. So this is something that we will get through. Both the school board, the school administration and the police department are on top of it, and they have contingency plan in place. And yes, while it will be inconvenient, it will be over before we know it. And without a doubt, they said it should be done by October 1st. That's
All right.
my report.
Good news is, as long as it's taken, a good portion of that was done while school was out of session, but still incredibly frustrating and disappointing for all of us. Well, it is frustrating. It's weather, but it can still be frustrating, because it's certainly frustrating for all of us. We drive on the same roads and walk on the same roads that everybody else does. Council President?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'll just be quick, just mentioning that there's 2 more opportunities to go downtown on Wednesday and hear some music down in your downtown this Wednesday, August 19th, and then also on August 26th. And it's been a great program, and it was really fun this year. That's all I have.
Thank you, Council President. Councilmember Sukan?
Yes, the Arts Council, they had a concert that was held featuring the More Stars on August 8th that was moved indoors to the old Franklin Schoolhouse, thanks to the advanced planning of our volunteers and the longstanding relationship with the Borough Improvement League. So thank you to them for allowing us to pivot that show indoors. And as Jason said, there's also going to be, in addition to Wednesday at 6 on this Wednesday and August 26th, there's also going to be music at the MLK Memorial Park, the lawn next to the library, featuring Maiden and Too Cool to Bluff. So there's lots of music all over downtown. The Shade Tree Commission has scheduled their next tree inventory for September 26th and 27th, focusing on the northwest section of the borough. Anyone is welcome to come out and take part in that with us. And the Green Team has had a very busy month. They've been having several meetings where they're learning about the projects put forth by Sustainable Jersey, which is no small task, and I will report more on their progress. That's it from me.
Thank you. Councilmember Jethwani?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, just a couple of items regarding the library. I think, as was mentioned, if folks have not yet seen the upgrades to the children's room, including the new mural, I would encourage folks to check it out. It's was done by local artist Julia Wynn, and it's really looking beautiful and vibrant. The library is also in the process of getting new signage to replace what is outside on both Library Place and Middlesex Ave. So I think we're excited to see sort of some improvements on the signage and look forward to making the outdoor space as welcoming as the indoor space is. And just a note that starting Wednesday, September 2nd at 7 p.m., the library will start holding monthly gatherings dedicated to Hispanic culture, literature, and the arts called Tertulias en Español. The discussions will cover materials selected by the group members, short stories, poems, movies, books. Conversations are held entirely in Spanish, but less fluent speakers, like myself, are apparently welcome to come and listen. Attendance is both in person and via Zoom. So I'm definitely looking forward to joining one of those soon. You can email the library to get on the mailing list or request the Zoom link, and drop-ins are welcome. And just to note that the next Library Board of Trustees meeting is on Tuesday, September 8th at 7 p.m. in the community room at the library. Thank you, Mayor. That's all.
Yes, thank you very much. Councilmember Hyman?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to take this opportunity to make people aware of the property tax relief public events that are being sponsored by the Assemblyman's Office, as well as hosted by Senator Deignan. Seniors who are 65 plus and residents collecting Social Security disability benefits or railroad retirement disability benefits can go to these events and get help with their PAS-1 filing. Make sure that you bring you check and make sure you bring everything that you need, but you can go to these events and they will help you file. It's the PAS-1 filing. It helps you with all of the property tax benefits. It's one form that you can file that will help you with Anchor or Stay New Jersey. And the other, there's going to be one held in Metuchen on September 16th at the Senior Center. It's there 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And there'll be people there, experts there that will help you file so that you can get up to 50% back of your property tax, which is a great thing for seniors. So this program, I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of it. September 16th at the Senior Center, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Please check online and make sure that you bring everything that you need on the checklist so that they can help you file for that. I also wanted, we had the proclamation earlier this evening for the Overdose Awareness Day event, which will be held hopefully outside in front of our beautiful Borough Hall on August 31st, Monday, August 31st, starting at 7 p.m. There'll be speakers and a candlelight vigil. We'll be giving out Narcan kits as well as ice cream sandwiches. But I want to stress how important it is that the entire community, whether you've been touched by overdose or addiction or not, how important it is for the entire community to come out and show support. This event is so important to remove the stigma of addiction because it is a disease, and we want people who are suffering in the community to know that they are not alone. So please mark your calendars. It's a beautiful event. If there's inclement weather, it will be moved to the high school, and you'll be notified, but please mark your calendars for August 31st, 7 p.m. out here in front of Borough Hall. Thank you very much. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks for your hard work on that, Councilmember. Appreciate that. Councilmember Branch?
Yes, thank you. Last Sunday, for those who do not know, we had a street fair, and there was a green fair attached to that, organized in part by the Environmental Commission, so thank you very much. A lot of people stopped by to learn about the Environmental Commission, what they do, as well as learn about EVs, how to take care of invasive species of plants, et cetera. So thanks for doing that, Environmental Commission. The Environmental Commission will also be at the Farmers Market on September 12th. Have a table there in case you want to learn more about what they do. The Recreation Commission will have a Halloween movie night at Tommy's Pond on October 30th. So we're getting into the Halloween season just a little bit. So looking forward to that. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's hard work on all these different projects, and I'm going to pass on my report just in the interest of time. New business consent agenda.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve the new business consent agenda, resolutions 2026-215 to 2026-238.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I make a motion to approve resolution 2026-239, authorizing the payment of the bill list in the amount of $2,692,556.87.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, good meeting, everyone. Thank you.